There was a young man who came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Masjid context. And he complained, he said the thing that was most beloved to him was zina, illegal intercourse. He loved it. He said, I love it more than anything in the world. When he said that, now he's coming to the Prophet not to boast about it, but to say, I have an issue, can you help me with it? The Sahaba that were around him, the companions that were around him, they said, like, quiet, don't talk about this. So what are they doing? That was basically the board of the committee, where it's like, no, not in the Masjid space. Not around the Prophet. No, come on. This is not the place for it. Keep it silent. Stigmatize it. Silence it. Keep it in the shadows. We don't need to know about it. What did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? He walked him through a process. He said, would you like this for your mother? No. He said, and people are like that. In other words, though that person is somebody's mother that you're interacting in that way with. Would you like this for your sister? No, of course not. And people are like that as well. They don't want this for their sisters. And he went through all of his female relatives, step by step. We could say this is almost a type of talk therapy or CBT or that he was walking him through, indicating like, he didn't just say it's haram, don't do it. Stop it cold turkey, which, there are people who can stop cold turkey. But he didn't tell him that. He walked him through a process. Then he made dua for him, the spiritual side. Sometimes people might say, oh, just make dua and it'll stop. That's not the way the Prophet ﷺ treated this man's sex addiction. He said he walked him through a cognitive process, thinking about it, and then he made dua. So he had both the cognitive side and the spiritual side, which we need that as in our approach to recovery. So now, if we look at that hadith and other hadith, or say the famous Sahaba, Abdullah and Nu'ayman, who was addicted to alcohol. He was addicted to alcohol, and he was a Sahabi, and he was punished for it because there is an Islamic punishment for alcohol use. But after he was punished, some of the Sahaba started calling him names, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ stopped him. He said he loves Allah and His Messenger. He loves Allah and His Messenger. You don't know who this person is. And Dr. Ariana mentioned a few times about the spirituality of addiction and the spirituality, the level of people who have addiction. And the mountains that they are, and that they could even be bigger mountains, and we can't, make a person just the sum of their actions, which is why the move is away from referring to addict, because you're not an addict. You are a human being with thoughts and love and fears and hopes and emotions and struggles. One of them happens to be addiction. So you are not an addict. So how did the Prophet ﷺ respond to him? And how was he incorporated in the community? So I knew these stories, but for me, and now I'll just a little bit of how my path to learning about addiction, because as Dr. Ariana mentioned, that we have to have compassion. We have to approach this with compassion and with understanding. And part of that understanding part of that compassion comes through understanding. I've had friends and family who have struggled with addiction, both narcotics as well as alcohol. On my mother's side of the family, I've had an uncle who passed away due to complications of alcoholism. So when Dr. Ariana was mentioning about the end result being death, and this was the uncle who was closest to me on my mother's side. My father's from Jordan, my mother's from Mississippi, and we spent a lot of time with him. And so to watch him go through this process of alcoholism and not get treatment and eventually pass away of complications related to that, it was very, very overwhelming for me. Subhanallah, I mean, I got the news that he had passed away right as I was going into a final for a course of one of my master's programs, and I should not have read the test at that time, but I had to. I read it, and then I just had to push through it and then process the grief afterwards. But it's very. I'm still grieving, and so I know the effect of what it could do to a human being. That's what I had one young man who was a teenager. His mother brought him in. He told me that his introduction to marijuana was at the Masjid. Another Muslim at the Masjid introduced him how to vape with the marijuana cards that don't smell. You can't even smell them anymore. And I counseled him right here in that office over there. And then in these hallways during the boys' groups that we used to have on Friday nights, one of the fathers came up to me in front of everybody. I mean, in fact, I was like, you're disclosing this about your addiction. In the hallway, somebody could overhear, but he just wanted somebody to talk to and knew that we were doing this friends and family recovery group in the masjid here. And so he opened up about his addiction and was crying in the hallways right over here. So it's here in the masjid. The Muslims who go to Doherty Valley, so many high schoolers at Doherty Valley are using substances to cope with the stress of their parents wanting them to get 4.2 and 4.3 GPAs. Still don't understand how that happens. But there's so much stress, and so that's what their coping mechanism that they're going to. So it's here in our masjid. It's here. People coming to tell me, he said, one young man said, I come to the masjid high sometimes, and his parents don't even know about it. So we have to do something. What does that look like? I don't know. But I hope, and I pray, and I look at the camera, to the board of directors, and to the board of trustees, I hope, and I pray, and this is my solemn request, that this is not nipped in the bud, and that you don't take the position of the Sahaba who, understandable, will say, meh, like literally it means shut up. We don't want that. We want you to take the prophetic approach of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is to have that welcoming and the addressment and the treatment. How that looks, Allahu a'lam. But its place is in the masjid. And to the supporters of the masjid community all over,